the base level is tickets with lots and lots of columns. Maybe the useful to talk about is we have the ID, the summary category, subcategory, priority. Useful things to know is the ticket ID. I just use the regular system level ID that Coda gives to each row. And then we have categories, subcategories, priority. I'll talk about the parent a little bit. We have who it's assigned to on the stage, but at one point we capture who it's built by, so that as we assign it to QA and other people, we always know who built that particular ticket. That's
Right.
something that changed since the last time. And then we have labels and how many points it is, and a whole bunch of other things. I'll talk about parent in a little bit, but I want to point out a couple of other supporting tables, which is I have a table for the categories that we just saw, and that's what we're looking at here. And then the subcategories relate to the categories. So our big one is order dashboard. You see order dashboard, a lot of the subcategories are order dashboard. That's one of the big areas of our app. And when we look at categories, we see that there's a bunch of categories for that one. Most of the only other big one is settings. We end up using that a lot.
Mhm.
So I have a page just with creating a new ticket, and it opens the full page. And I made a super simple template, as you can see, so that it starts with a number list here and with a call out so that our QA person can start writing test cases for that ticket. So just super simple there in the
Oh,
field to use the most.
so this is
Right.
almost kind of like a screen in Jira when you're creating a new ticket.
Yeah, exactly that obviously, because it's Coda, we can configure any way we want. And by the way, I'm making this throughout the whole week, always. And that's why I have to
Uh-huh.
get it ready, because I'm often just jotting something down that I know I need to come back to finish. Because it comes up in a conversation. We go, oh, hold on. And then we'll jot something quickly. And then with Coda, it's released to go back later. Show me all the tickets that I made the last week that don't have ticket ready yet. So I can flesh those out. In
Got it.
fact, our cadence is, and look, not that I need to explain Coda to you, but it's so easy to make different views. So I'm going to close some of these to make it easier. Our cadence is on Mondays. I open this view called new tickets. And because this is a clone, it's going to be starting me off. But the created on is show me all the tickets that were created since the last Monday at 8:30 a.m.
Mm.
So when I meet with the engineering lead and I already have them grouped by priority, I just see what are the newest tickets that we created since the last time that we talked.
Got
And
it.
we discuss them. Sometimes we flesh them out. Ticket might be ready or not ready because of the priorities. If we don't have time, we don't even talk about the low and lowest. We just cover what we need to cover. And as we do that, then the engineering lead, by the way, he has a page that only shows tickets where he turned on the toggle for on deck for himself. In this case, there's just the one, but after we discuss, so I create tickets all week long. And then on Mondays, we discuss the new tickets. And there's other tickets I have in mind that I want to talk about that are on deck for me. It's just a simple view. And then he can decide which ones he thinks should be part of the sprint. And as he turns on the toggle for on deck Bismarck, they appear here and it starts adding up how many total tickets are in here, how many total points there are, how many are still unassigned. He assigns them to people and you can see, okay, how many points am I giving to each person? And then he can do that and then just add all of them in one click to the sprint and boom.
Got it. Okay.
He makes the sprint that way. Again, the beauty of code is that the flexibility allows it to adapt to exactly the way that we want to work. And then from we have 1 week sprints. From the work standpoint, most of the team likes the regular Kanban view. I guess they're used to it
Right.
from Jira. And we do it here. And by the way, we had an issue where some of the tickets he was forgetting to add points or they didn't have a category as a category. So now, and this is a copy, so I can just break something and it's going to matter. If a ticket doesn't have the points and it doesn't have this category, it tells us right here so that we know that, wait a minute, there's some issues with tickets that don't have all the fields that we need them to have.
And then you can use the toggles to just get to the ones that
Yeah. So and say, look, there's one ticket counts that are blank. So there's one that doesn't have points and one that doesn't have a subcategory that's order dashboard. So say, okay, show me the one that doesn't have points. And there it is. And then I can just fix it.
okay.
But by the way, as an idea, if there was a programmatic way to configure the color and the icon for the callouts, that would allow us to make it green or red.
Oh, I see. It's because if there's no errors and you want it to basically be green.
Yeah, I would want to change the text to say everything's fine. And when there's errors, I want
Got
to change the color in the text I can change, but I cannot change the color in the icon. That might be something that applies to lots of people in lots of cases. by the way. That might be one of those tiny little features that does a lot for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And during the progress of the sprint, we can see how many points are assigned to people and how many are ready for review, which is our stage, which is the engineers are done and it's now passing to QA. So very configurable to us. Sometimes the QA lead just wants to show me tickets that are bugs. Show me tickets that are bugs. So super simple. Now again, the flexibility of Coda, I mostly look at the same information, but set a list. I set a list. It's just easier for me to just say, okay, we got 3 rejected. There's 4 in progress. There's 11 that are waiting for QA to pick them up and start working on. So same data, just a different view. Again, just the power and the flexibility of Coda. Super useful there. Now, so a couple of things that we've done since the last time we talked is we added, this is just an embed for FigJam, but it's so useful. We made a diagram of what our cadences. We have weekly sprints. We deploy every sprint. It's just super useful. Just have it right here where everybody can look at it. Because we talk about, okay, where are we in the cycle? And we can just look at it. So something super easy, yet super useful. And the other thing we added is here on daily sprints and reports. These are some of the tables, but the engineering lead makes a new row of this table every day, and people write their notes on what they worked on yesterday to review for the stand-up, and you can flip back to any day. And then we also have a weekly version of that, which is we're still doing this manually. And I like the idea that somebody actually looks at it manually, but we have demo as on Friday, and we look at the team members and how many points they completed. And QA talks about how many tickets they reviewed and what they found with bugs on a week. So we got all the tickets plus the cadence of what's happening with the team as far as points completed, bugs found, and then just general note. This is one row per week with general notes and features completed. And I love how you can just write the ticket number and it links back to the ticket if you want to jump right there. So it's your tickets plus our work all in one place. And then this is where it got super interesting for me. As last year was ending, I thought, you know what? Uh, We've been using it for about a year and a half now. So all of 2023, we were using this. I go, it'd be really nice to have some results of what we worked on in 2023 from the data we have in here already. That's when I forgot if I reached out or how we connected that I was telling you that I was sending some data to BigQuery. It
Mhm.
was to flatten out because notice I'm going to click here where it says all tickets. Our tickets can have the category, and sometimes there's more than one. And this 1622 has a bunch of categories. And sometimes for order dashboard, especially, they have a bunch of subcategories. I don't
Mhm.
know if I can find an example quickly about it, like this one. This one only has two. But order dashboard has field metadata and sales total data. So what I wanted to take is whatever points 1563 was, just divide it evenly so that I can say how many points are we throughout the whole year we spent on the order dashboard overall, and how many points on all the sub areas of the order dashboard. And the same thing for categories. So this ticket up here that we saw that has 4 categories, however many points that is, I don't know where the points column is here, however many points that is, just divide it evenly among all the 4 categories. So that at the end of the year, I can say, we completed 6,000 points. How, how did we spend our time? On what areas of the application did we invest our time? So for 2023, I did it semi-manually. Then I'll show you how I actually put it all into Coda. So this was, I did this like in 3 days. So just some subtotals. How many tickets we complete? How many points? How many of those were bugs? how many points were bugged, how many P0 tickets that we have to tackle. Super useful to be able to look at that. That's when I realized I want to look at this quarterly, not just once a year. But we finished it for the year. How many points each person, how many bugs each person fixed. And then we got a little bit deeper. So I want to click here on by category. This I had to export to BigQuery to flatten out all those categories that have multiple categories and sometimes subcategories. And then I did this in Google Sheets and I embedded it. I want to show you how I'm just doing it inside of Coda. But just what we wanted to know is for all of 2023, all the categories, how many tickets and how many points, and then a pie chart of the same by category, tickets, how many tickets by category, how many points by category. About the same, but it gives us an idea, and you can tell the order dashboard is the biggest thing for us. And because the order dashboard is big, by the way, one of the insights that came out of this other is number 2. That means we need to classify them better because we have lots of things under other. So we went back and said, okay, other shouldn't be more than some small percentage. And then similar insight with the order dashboard that has a lot of subcategories. The top one was one we just didn't even give it. So, hey, we need to figure out that a little better. And then of the bugs that we fixed, what categories were they? Gives us a sense of what's happening. And then the same thing, but subcategories for order dashboard. Again, I had to send it out of Coda because I didn't know how to do it all within Coda. And then what else? Oh, we have this other thing that we track called reopen bug. If we notice that we're fixing something again, we tag it. So, okay, how many things do we have? And what we notice is we do some, but not a lot of. And then more breakdowns by person, and the bugs that we had, what categories were there, like useful stuff for us to review. So once I did that once, I realized that we wanted to automate this a little bit. So here's the cool part that I wanted. This is the big, at least for me, was the biggest. It took me a while. I realized that I had to take the data that's in here and flatten it out. So I created another table called tickets for reports. And on that one, 1623 would have 5 rows, one for each of these. And whatever the points are for this, be divided by 5 on each of the rows. So that then I can use that table for reports. So there's an intermediate table somewhere, and it's a copy. So we'll actually be able to run it if you want to see it. So here in the Kanban table, and I'm going to unlock the document. This button is set up so only the engineering lead can execute it. So let's look at the code here. This is one of the biggest things that I've done. So it's a nested for each. And I wrote a lot of notes. So what it does is it takes the table of the tickets, it filters for, let me see, how do I should have rewritten it before this. It takes all the tickets that are already approved and it cycles through them, adding them to the other table of tickets for reports, flattening it out. Like I just said, if one ticket has 4 categories, it'll become 4 rows, it'll calculate. Actually, the points in the other table is just a formula. I don't need to calculate it in the script. And if the ticket happens to be of the category order dashboard, it does the same thing again, but it flattens out the subcategories now so that we can see that. And it puts it in that other table. And then, and by the way, this is part of closing the sprint. So when we close the sprint, which would be whatever tickets are that I accepted already, it does that. Plus, it does a few more things. It creates a new sprint. We have another table called sprints. So this is what I talked about. It raises a temporary table that I use for that. And then all the tickets that are completed changes the date of it, puts the completed date on the tickets, creates a new sprint. The tickets that we didn't complete moves them to the new sprint. It does all the work of completing a sprint. And what that does is that gives me a table that I keep here at the bottom because I don't use this directly called tickets for reporting. So I'm grouping them by sprint just to make it easier. So the last sprint we completed 45 tickets and these are all completely flattened out. And then from there, I'm still working on this. So 2023 is what I showed you already. In 2024, Q1, now Coda automatically does the breakdown of category and tickets points. And so far we're only up to Q1, so I didn't put more logic than that there. But for Q1, how many tickets? So broken down by category, and how many points broken down by category. And I don't need to send it to BigQuery and Google Sheets and all that. It just happens here. So
Yeah, that's great.
it started with just tracking tickets to like a whole management platform for the team. And we're going to start growing the team. We're still pretty small. Now we have an amazing tool to be able to keep managing everything really well as we grow. And I have to tell you that for us, it beats the pants off of the actual Atlassian Jira. It maybe is great for other companies, but for us, this is miles ahead of what that gave us because of the crazy flexibility that we have here. All right. So recently clear, I think it's 1623. And it's pretty big. No, this is what's going on. Category. It's not sales orders. I recently created this ticket for. Okay, here we go. Number one, we link it to our Jira wireframes, and the canvas columns allows us to do something that's pretty complete, including well, this just has a bunch of links. We had a bunch of screenshots and links to it, but the ticket is huge. I mean, just look at all this text. So what the engineering lead does is he breaks it down into sub tickets. Jira has this too. So you just click add subtask. Now, the architecture that we came up with is what makes it super awesome. When you click on subtask, this just adds another ticket in the exact same table. But on the column parent, it links to this ticket that we're looking at here. So we don't have a table of tickets and a table of subtasks. We just have a table of tickets. And some tickets know that other tickets are their parent. So that allows us to meet to write huge tickets for other people to break them up into sub tickets. When it comes to reporting and all that, we don't have to cobble together information from a couple of tables. It's just all in one table. And I can also see how many tickets have children and how big they are. That's what it is that called parent. So some tickets have a parent. And sometimes some tickets have lots of children. So 1164 would have had these two tickets. That is crazy useful to us. Let me shrink this. So and by the way, and it continues to evolve. Like what we are doing here right now, the formula is really simple. It's just all of Q1, but I think I'm going to add a date range here so that I can I'm either going to have multiple pages or one page, and you can pick Q1, Q2, Q3, and then I'll make it so that I can compare any 2 quarters to see how. And on this theme of it continues to evolve. Let me see, it's QA. I had it right here. So, by the way, any questions on that? Because I want to show you something related but separate. How?
No, this all makes sense. Yeah, this is really, really cool to see how you've like incorporated the reporting aspect into it too.
Yeah, that part's been great. So, or QA person, and again, it's a copy can mess. We were using an open source thing called TestLink that runs on Windows, but it's in a silo, it's just on her computer, and nobody else can see it. So what we're looking at here is now the test cases, and the test cases can have a particular number of steps. Is it manual or automatic? Is she finish? Did she finalize the test case? Does she want it as part of the net regression? And with crosstalk, what are the tickets that is related to when we're doing
Ah, very cool.
either test case? So it starts getting super cool from here. So if I open one of these, we can see verify the user can log in. So this is like the most basic stuff. Verify that the user can log in. That's a screenshot of our app, by the way. The same principle. So all the substeps for this that you need to track. And then in here, and we know if there's a problem, we know what the work was of this. And then with this other column in next regression, when she's ready to start a next regression, I think the button's over here. Where did I put it? Regressions. Start next regression. And it'll grab all the test cases that she decided should be part of the next regression. And it just makes the next regression. And now we can all track it as it goes along. You can see the progress of the regression. We barely started using this, as you can see. We can track the progress of the regression, and it's linked to the work. This is pretty basic, but just the fact that it's connected is what makes it super useful. And
And, and I assume you cross-docked in the list of tickets into like the data tables page, I
yeah,
assume?
correct.
Okay.
So I do the same thing. I put a page with like data tables that I access everywhere. So DB tickets is the cross-dock
Got it. Okay.
of the original. And this is a copy. That's why it's just not synced yet. I just wanted to clone the document so that I can go over here to regressions. And it tells me that if I do this now, there's going to be 109 tests in the next regression. So we hit that. And if I go to current regression, we see that we have a regression now with all these steps that she's working on. So pass, fail, block, nothing's happened so far on this one. Pass, fail, block, we just started, right? So we can pass to, I think I'm filtering out the stuff that's completed. And it just keeps updating. And then we can see how the regressions. So the crosstalk thing is what makes it really nice. And I got a couple questions for you, but I just want to describe the future. It's going to be 3 documents that are integrated. I'm going to make another document called documentation, and it's going to be page for each of our categories. And the ones that have subcategories, we're going to put the documentation in a table so that it'll have an ID and maybe not a canvas field, but just a regular notes field, maybe, or maybe canvas, where we just write a paragraph or two that is scoped just for a specific area so that in the test cases, we can refer to in the documentation what functionality we're testing, right? So that'll give me in my documentation, every paragraph will have an ID so that this section here, the test cases, can refer to the original Jira ticket that we worked on, and there'll be another column for documentation. What paragraphs of the documentation functionality is this test case related to? And on the documentation will also relate to the Jira tickets. So it's a triangle. Now we got the work we're doing, the test cases we're doing, the documentation, and they're all cross-referenced to each other.
Yeah.
And
Didn't you mention something about like was it a pack you wanted to build that was related to
yeah,
the
we
test cases, or was that
we just need Cypress or test automation, but I don't know. I've never worked on it, so I don't understand sort of the intricacies. But I've been talking to the QA lead. Hey, how do we just trigger the testing? Well, this is the manual stuff that she does. And we want to combine it with the manual Cypress. Although that's in our pipeline right now, so I don't know that we need it. But the idea is to keep cutting, keep automating anything that we can. Although I haven't
uh,
figured out what that would be. I don't want to create more work just for the sake of it. So I haven't figured out what that is.
mm.
So, but by the way, if this is useful, so I want to ask you questions, but let me just say, if you think it's useful to generalize this a little bit more and put it up on the gallery, I can put a little my time on it, but I'll work with you to tell you how it works. If you wanted to take this and make it a little bit more generalized to make it available to anybody, especially once we have the 3 things. Those 3 things together are really darn cool. Documentation, regression testing, Jira tickets, and they all connect to each other. Mine is so specific for us. I don't know how to apply it. And there's some rough edges too that would need to be a little better if you were going to put it in the gallery. But maybe it's getting to the point where that part makes sense. So happy to collaborate with you and help you where I can. If you wanna throw it out there. It's sophisticated stuff. Like it needs to somebody would need to figure out how to make it work for them. But look, it costs us less than Jira, but even ignoring that, it does so much that Jira didn't. Like even if it costs the state or if it costs more. Like this is the stuff that we just couldn't do with Jira.
Yeah, unless you had like a bunch of crazy add-ons and plugins and
Yeah,
stuff.
and there's a Jira query language. I spent a little bit of time on that, including custom fields, and I made hardly any progress. And then in Coda, boom, I started making progress right away. So from the level of effort to customize it, and I'm constantly tweaking things as the team evolves, as what we do changes. It's a living document, as you guys call it. I mean, I don't need to sell Coda to you, but that's what makes it great is the crazy flexibility and the fact that you guys keep improving the product too and where it's going. We focus on different areas of the app and different regressions. And as she checks it, she can see how many she has so far. So
Mhm.
she can decide the scope of how big or small is going to be, the regression is going to be. And she writes a lot of tests that she didn't fully specify. So as you can see, only 87 of the 247 are finalized. And Alex, so useful that we meet. I go, how's it going? Like, what would make it easier? What would make it simpler? She goes, what if it did this and it did that? And then 2 days later, I have that for her,
That's great.
right? Or the same day, depending on how busy I am, or the same day. So that's Coda, not us, right? It's the fact that with Coda, we can keep evolving it and tweaking it. That's it's what I showed you, plus the fact that it's easy to keep extending it and extend.
Mhm.
Those two things combined. And so what what I showed you plus once we have the documentation thing is Jira plus Confluence plus in our case we're imitating a thing called Testlane that's on Windows that's open source that we just made it all work in Coda and better and not just a little bit better but like for us and that's what
Yeah,
makes that's what
that's
makes
awesome.
it awesome for us.